Is the aftermarket officially better than OEM? Before we get into that, welcome back to Downtime, presented by Conequip Parts, where if you have downtime, you might as well spend it with us. And if you have heavy equipment and need heavy equipment parts, you might as well get it from Conequip Parts. I don't know the number, so it's gonna be right here. Or you can go to conequip.com/shop to do a little online shopping. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Over the past year or so, we've noticed a little trend popping up over the heavy equipment industry. Komatsu recently announced a major expansion of its parts network in Arizona. Cat's doing this, so is Deere. Damn near every major parts manufacturer is pouring into parts logistics. When I found out about this, my first question was, why now? Why all of a sudden? It's not like OEMs just found out that people buy parts. I don't think there was some sort of emergency meeting of this dude randomly running into the office and sweating and being like, yo, we have a huge problem. Excavators break and people need parts.
Get the shareholders on the phone stat.
They obviously know that parts have been profitable forever, so what's really going on? I think it has less to do with selling parts and more to do with OEMs starting to lose something, which is their relationship with their customer base. For decades, manufacturers had a pretty simple setup. You bought a Cat machine, you got Cat parts. You bought a Komatsu machine, you bought Komatsu parts. There weren't really solid options for support outside of those dealer networks. That was just how things worked. But over the last 15 or so years, something changed. Aftermarket got really good. And that was really the biggest factor. Buying aftermarket parts was damn near taboo for a really long time. 20 years ago, aftermarkets had a certain a certain vibe about them. Frankly, ordering them was just kind of sketchy. Gotta worry about quality, how does it fit, yada yada yada, all the boring stuff. People had to worry about if their parts were gonna last longer than their second marriage. And for that reason, they definitely went to aftermarkets last. You call the dealer first and then you'd look elsewhere if you got desperate. But today, that's not even the case anymore. Most people might even find themselves looking at aftermarket parts first. The fact that we have individuals reaching out to aftermarket first before OEM is a massive shift. Most people think about price when they go the aftermarket route. And don't get me wrong, the price is way better, but the bigger issue is the convenience. Let's say your excavator's down. You call the dealership, they want your serial number, a build code, and maybe a stool sample, if you're lucky, and then they'll call you right back. So then they call you back 3 hours later, and then they say that the part is in Nebraska, and that it's gonna come in about 3-4 weeks. You chill with that? It really sucks cheeks, is what I'm trying to say, man. Meanwhile, you call an aftermarket supplier, like Conequip Parts, and the dude's on the phone. He's like, yeah, give me a picture, give me a little information. Got it. Easy. Done. Thanks for doing business, son. 20 minutes later, you got tracking on your part. Isn't it great? Now, obviously, that's a major generalization. There are great dealers, just like there are bad aftermarket suppliers. However, perception matters, and the perception is that more and more, aftermarket is just easier. And that's why aftermarket suppliers are living rent-free in the minds of the OEM. It's not the first sale that scares them. It's something else. The relationship. It's like your one friend who's single forever because he's got a girl that's good to him, and he doesn't know what to do with that. By the way, it's his mother. Honestly, think about it. A contractor calls an aftermarket supplier for hose, and then a little later he calls for a cylinder, and then a final drive, and then a hydraulic pump. See where I'm getting at? Pretty soon, every breakdown starts with the same call, and you guessed it, it's not the OEM dealer. And when you like working with somebody and you're comfortable with them, you're gonna go back to them more times than not. Machines get sold once, and parts get sold for decades. That's a lot of years of relationship building. Would you rather go to a stuffy OEM dealer or go to a guy who loves his job, asks you how your family's doing, gets you back to work stat, and all at a lower cost? I think there's an easy answer there. Contractors and companies are starting to keep their machines a lot longer than they ever have. Machines now from OEM are just really expensive, and people prefer the more simpler machines. I mean, have you seen the inside of some of these machines? It looks like a fighter pilot cockpit. Instead of replacing the machines at 10 years old, these people are just simply rebuilding them. I mean, that's a difference between tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So instead of trading them in, they're doing everything they can to keep those machines alive. And every one of those repairs is a revenue opportunity. And I think that's what OEM are now starting to wake up to. Imagine selling a machine in 2012, and that machine is still running today. But that machine is still buying parts and components. And every single time a customer starts buying parts elsewhere, that's money that the OEM never sees. Multiply that by thousands and thousands of machines, then you got a pretty compelling case to start, parts distribution. Now, I don't think OEMs are worried about the guy that has an excavator that's running from 1987. I mean, they do matter, but it's not the big prize. Holding inventory for a machine that's owned by two people in the world doesn't really make a lot of sense. The big prize is fleets of machines from 2010 to 2020. I mean, the sweet spot is like 10 to 15 years old of those machines. That's where the volume is, that's where the spending is, and that's where the future revenue is. And those are the customers OEMs are trying to keep. That's why we're seeing these huge investment pushes here. Not because they're trying to support every machine since Chester Arthur was president, but because they're trying to get people away from aftermarket suppliers in the most profitable years of the machine. And yeah, that was a real president, 21st to be exact. What you know about Chester Arthur? The irony is that the OEMs created the aftermarket industry, and now they're competing against it. Every time a part gets discontinued or lead times get longer, basically anytime an OEM is just messing up everything, an entrepreneur sees a big old money pot. And then eventually a company gets built solving that kind of problem. That's literally how aftermarket exists. OEMs left a gap, and then somebody filled it, and then got really good at filling that. So are we going to see a bunch of new dealerships start popping up? Probably not. In fact, their presence is already still great. We're just seeing the influx now because they're trying to recapture the market. So I don't think we're going to see a cat dealership on every corner like there is Tim Hortons in Ontario. Medium ice cap with a shot of hazelnut, please. What we're really seeing is an investment in distribution. More inventory, bigger warehouses, better logistics, faster shipping. The goal isn't to necessarily build more locations. The goal is to, when a customer needs a part, it's not going to be, that'll be 3 weeks. The customer always wants to hear, it'll be there tomorrow. Because uptime is the most important thing in this kind of industry. And customers, that's what they're expecting. The aftermarket has created that. The whole trend really comes down to one thing. OEMs are realizing that it's not machine quality, it comes down to the relationship. The aftermarket proved that the contractors just care about convenience and speed and how fast you can get things done. They care more about uptime more than anything. Because no one's ever looked at a broken excavator and thought,
you know what? I fucking hate money. Let's leave it down for one more week.
So while OEMs aren't discovering that parts are suddenly profitable, they're realizing that their customer loyalty isn't guaranteed anymore. And that's why they're making this investment. Not because they're trying to sell a hydraulic pump, but because they're trying to remain that first call when the hydraulic pump fails. That's a much bigger battle because the aftermarket has been going sicko mode. So what do you think? Do you call the dealer first? Do you call aftermarket first? Do you just look at your machine and hope that all life's problems just go away and think about life really deeply? Or do you do all of those things?
My life sucks.
Do you have that part? I need it now! My second marriage is failing. But that's going to do it for today, folks. Be sure to tune in next week to enjoy your downtime with Downtime. And check out the sick little outro by me.
Let me tell them, downtime, it's about time. Big bad problem, trying to strip it down line. Downtime, turning all the cash to dirt. Downtime, getting us back to work.